much money is being put into the pot, and then, you know, what's a reasonable request. Maybe more than 250 is a reasonable request based upon how much Charlotte County's paying in and how much we've gotten out in the past. You know, I just say.
We're going to be working on that, I guess tomorrow. We're going to make a case, and we feel that there are areas where, for example, we can legitimately ask WCIND for support for items that will certainly go beyond Charlotte County in assisting boaters either with facilities, with dockage, and things like that that are eligible. And the rough conceptual idea is it looks like we're going to be about 750,000 short, and we're looking at, I think administration is looking to take part of that out of reserve, part of it here, and I came up with the idea, well, if we're looking around, let's get a third of it from WCIND and give it a shot.
Right, it's very understandable, and I think that's a you know, a laudable approach to solving this problem. The other thing I don't see on this agenda, which I think needs to be on this agenda, is the contract for the new executive director. I don't think you hire the guy and then figure out what's the contract we're going to have him sign. I think you need to have that document completed and perfected before you hire the guy. So that needs to be brought up at the meeting as well.
I think at this point, what we've done is, and I think we went over this, there were about 140 inquiries. They had somewhere around 50 or 60 applications. They narrowed that down to about 6 people. 5 or 6 people are being called in. They're going to meet individually with each of the 4 commissioners informally, every one of the candidates, and then we're going to have our meeting and then meet formally. And I think the idea was that we knew the parameters we wanted to head in, that would be developed at that point, but I'd be happy to bring it up at next week.
Yeah, and I think that's, honestly, that's wonderful that they're vetting candidates, but you need to have a contract before you hire anybody, period. And I'll keep trumpeting that until it gets done, because
I absolutely agree with you.
Once the guy gets hired, all of a sudden, that kind of goes away, and you have no control over the situation. And I don't like to keep bringing the water authority in, but I'm going to keep bringing that in. At least we have a contract. Hasn't done a whole lot, but this is a situation where it's not even controllable. At least with a contract, you have some control.
As I mentioned, Commissioner, at the workshop, and I think you know, I think my predecessor actually brought it up once or twice. And I brought it up, and the fact that we have a lame duck administrator who's going to be out in about 6 months or so, there wasn't a lot of support for doing it, but I think my colleagues on that WCIND will support that. They'll listen to us, and I think they'll be very comfortable doing it. Also, by the way, Chris, to include an evaluation procedure.
Absolutely.
As part of that, which never was included
Right,
before.
and that's a great point.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
That's a great point, and you know, you can appeal to your lame duck administrator and just say to him, look, you know, why don't you make this your legacy, that you did something very responsible, and help develop the contract for your successor. I mean, really, let's get talking. Maybe, Ray, you can talk to him as well and just say, this is something that we need to have, and we would appreciate your help, and here are some examples, and we think these would be reasonable. This way he can kind of get the ball rolling. Because
the groundwork's been laid for that, so
yeah.
I anticipate we're going to have some success.
But I mean, you know, just being happy with mediocrity is not a good idea. So, thank you.
Commissioner, I just checked with David, and yes, we can have. The reason I was hesitant is I didn't know if the document that I have was an actual submission or it was a set of working papers that we have. And I'm very hesitant to put working papers out there and have
Right.
them
I want the real, right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Next up on the agenda is the 10 a.m. public hearing items.
No, would you go back to,
Oh,
you
sorry.
skipped over number 2.
On regular agenda, item number 2 is the discussion on unfunded infrastructure.
Can you be a little more specific?
It's continuation from the,
That graph sheet, that worksheet, spreadsheet we got,
Okay.
it's on this one.
now, moving on to the public.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Cox.
I'm gonna make a stutter step back for a half second, back to utilities. The 0.72% interest rate, is that variable or is that fixed? And what's the term? I was looking quickly through the documents and I couldn't figure out. The 16 million at 0.72% for how many years?
It's a 20-year loan typically with SRF funding.
Okay, and it's fixed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
And this is, commissioners, this, this is a good deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the last time we went for, that it came out, oh, what did we do? We submitted an application for this much money, then we came back later and we reduced it down to this much money. The beauty of these loans are, it sets a maximum. We don't have to take that money if we don't need it. But the higher you get the maximum, the better it is for the county. It's a good thing.
Right, I just wanna make sure it's fixed, and I didn't turn.
I just wanted to make sure everybody realized it was a good
And it's a
thing.
decent interest rate.
Yes.
How do you feel about it, Ward?
I think it's fairly smart. Two public hearings. Are we on that? Two public hearings. The first one is for the sales tax.
Well, no, we got DJJ invoices.
Oh, sorry. I got so excited.
That is, I'm
It's
sorry.
not on the page yet,
That'll
that's
be
an
part
add-on.
of- That'll be part of the change memo. That is
right,
the,
okay.
Number three.
discussion.
It's up online.
Right, discussion and direction on the
Okay.
monthly DJJ invoices.
And I think that we all got a summary of what our DJJ.
Oh, sorry.
We have I know I have one, but I think everybody got a summary on what, right? What
Yes.
those overpayments equate to.
It's my understanding we've been paying about 48,000 a month, and under the 13-14 methodology, we were originally paying 18,000. I think that's the number that we think is appropriate.
No, just to clarify, we're not paying anything right now.
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
Right.
so the 48 is what they're
Is
charging
what they were
us.
invoicing us
Right.
for.
And you're gonna suggest, based on some discussions that we had, that we pay the 18 in good faith at this point.
I'm suggesting to you that Carrie Roth, your legislative, your lobbyist, is recommending that you make a payment. It doesn't affect the litigation one way or the other, but she seems to think that it will get you some goodwill if you make the payment.
And we're thinking about what we have been paying in the past before inflation or whatever grabbed it and multiplied it several times.
And there's several other counties that have not been making payments that are going through the same process.
Yeah, I had asked that when we met the other day, will we have to know that we're not alone? I think we're better off.
You're not alone.
We're moving united in this. is my
I believe
point.
Escambia and, I didn't bring my notes with me, but I'll have it for you.
Sarasota.
Sarasota.
But prior to Tuesday, we should be able to contact everyone else and see if they're on board.
No, there's 6 of us that are in this
Right.
pot, so to speak. And out of that 6, right now, there are 3 of them that have made a decision, and the other 3 are talking about. And what those decisions are still are not clear.
Are we one of the 3 that are talking about it?
Yes.
All right, that's the 6.
Here's-
Commissioner Thompson?
Yeah, I mean, it's Charlotte, Escambia, Palm Beach, Pinellas, Sarasota, and Volusia. We're in good company, and I don't know that I'm really ready to start paying. I really would like to know what the others are thinking about doing, because if we hold tight, I was talking with Chris Holly, and he said, you can pay, you cannot pay, it's kind of up to you guys, you're not the only ones. So,
Consider.
I know Negron's on the warpath, but still, we need to.
But we still have a minimum of payment that we are
We
really
agree to.
obligated to anyway.
But aren't we owed money?
We are owed money. But in my world, it's illegal to hold money from one project if you owe somebody, hold money from one project because somebody didn't do something correctly on another project and you're trying to make them go back. And that's kind of how I see this. I don't know how it falls in statute, but I look at it as, I don't know if we're in the right, I don't know if we're in the wrong, but that's why I really want to have the discussion on this and try to get as much information about it as possible.
And so you're saying then if we feel that according to our formula, at this reduced rate, these should be our payments, just pay that amount,
Mhm.
still fight for the money
Absolutely.
we're owed,
Yeah.
and still fight to keep the rate at the proper rate?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
And is there a clock ticking?
You'll be-
Clock
Only
ticking?
the clock that's ticking in Tallahassee.
Or
Yeah.
that,
March.
Session.
March 3rd.
Yeah,
Starts, yeah.
oh,
my,
okay.
my understanding on that is we would not go beyond what we were paying in the past, and we would do that pretty much as you said, Bill, as a sign of good faith, because we're pretty sure we're gonna pay that anyhow. And maybe as a sign of good faith, the state will write us a check. But I wouldn't suggest we don't know that.
Okay, I think we're done with regular agenda. We'll move on to the,
Public
land
hearing.
use. public hearing.
Public hearing.
The 10 a.m. public hearing, please. Budget
Now I'm
administrator.
Now,
The first one is for the sales tax. Three pieces of this to conduct the public hearing, but to approve the budget adjustment for the current year's allocation of those sales tax dollars so that we can put projects out to bid. The second one is for you to approve the updated timeline, and then the third piece is the actual sales tax CIPs themselves. Then the next one, under purchasing there, the reason this is a public hearing is because under statute, since we're increasing the overall budget, and that budget adjustment, there needs to be a public hearing on the actual budget adjustment itself, not on the Harbor Gateway project. So I'll let Kim talk about the gateway project.
Yeah, so the bid, we're bringing forward the bid for approval. This is for the CRA, the LAP project. And this would include alternate number 1, recommending award to Quality Enterprises in the amount of $2,306,021. The one key to this right now is we're waiting on FDOT approval, because we cannot have the board approve this until we obtain their approval. Because of the timing of trying to get this on the agenda, we are leaving it on right now, but we do not have DOT's approval of the bid yet. So if we do not receive that prior to the board meeting start on Tuesday at 9 a.m., we will be required to pull it. But we're hopeful that we can get that and leave this item on, because we're supposed to start construction by the end of March, I believe, so.
Commissioner
And
Deutsch.
I would hope that what we talk about under WCIND should have no negative impact in any way on this, only ultimately maybe positive in the long run. So, yeah, I think everyone understands.
What are we doing to get FDOT to hurry up and get it finished by this day?
We have been calling them constantly, and Peter Van Busker, who is our engineer of record, he has to resubmit their final bid estimate. And as soon as, Peter, you have it submitted today, right? And, so they have to review it, and they also have to check on Quality Enterprises to make sure they're a qualified bidder, and then they will send us a letter, and they know that we have this scheduled for Tuesday, and I've asked them to have everything completed by Monday morning for us. We're just kind of at their mercy right now, but we have called them several times and spoken to them. That would be their project manager.
But we're sure that they'll have everything they need today.
Yes.
But I
Do you
just
need
wanted
anybody
to,
else to call?
I just wanted to be prepared that if we had to pull it, you'll know why.
But does anybody, good buddies with Billy Hathaway?
We all are.
Is that the person we have to speak to? It's a staff person?
It's a staff person, and they understand, I think, the issue. They're trying to work with us. I can certainly call Lisa's supervisor and let her know as well, or, but
I'll call Zach Birch.
Okay. Move on to the last section, 2 p.m. land use items.
Good afternoon. We have 5 items, and all of them are legislative. The first one is a street vacation petition for a remnant of Apperson Circle. The number 2 and number 3 are both related to amendments to the Charlotte Harbor Revitalization Plan. The first one is the actual map amendment, and the second one is the text amendment for that plan. The fourth item are some tweaks to the Minnesota and Sandpiper Key zoning overlay district. Remember, we brought this up last month, so these are the proposed changes they would like to see. And then our final item is the second group of land development code changes that we've discussed in the past. So this is the second group of those changes that are moving forward, and they have unanimous recommendation of approval from your planning board.
We have no questions. We are done for the day. Thank you, everybody.
I'm sorry? I would guess.
Hey, Hector.
Ask him. Ask Tom. Ask Tom.
Hey, how are you? Yeah, I sent her an email, right before I come up.
No, I don't very well. I'm not even making problems. Not in there. Maybe in the.
Yeah.